Let me introduce you to Hambil, and he's the luckiest guy on Earth. He just got kicked out of his apartment for watching too much cultured anime, but he's about to luck himself into the craziest share house ever. And as he goes through a roommate interview, our boy doesn't know his life is about to change forever thanks to two girls. Anyways, stuck in an interview, it looks like Hambil has already met his match as he tries his best not to stare at the twin pyramids of Giza right in front of him. Now I can't blame him because you aren't a man if your pepperoni pizza crust does not rise up when you meet someone attractive to you. So bro looks down in shame after getting caught in 4K. But to Hambil's surprise, as soon as he got caught in 4K, he didn't fail the interview. Instead, he suddenly hears that he got accepted to be the third and final roommate. As such, bro begins moving in on the same day, unable to believe he was able to snag an amazing area to live in whilst having to pay the cheapest rent ever. So the first thing he does is to bring a box of tissues as it's time he meets the cultured men in the comments section again. Nevertheless, shortly after dropping his sussy baka box into his room, he goes to grab more of his boxes at his old place, but he accidentally ganks a girl inside, causing him to be confused as he's not familiar with the concept of the opposite gender. However, the girl starts acting like she's seen a ghost, where she outright refuses to speak to Hambil or even answer any of his questions, looking like she just got ganked by the sussy Fire Nation. Now unsure of what to do in the presence of Hambil, the girl randomly takes a huge breath and begins channeling her screaming breathing technique to full power, yelling for him to please take anything except her life. She then falls to the ground looking like she's about to pass out from total fear whilst pointing at our boy and his box cutter, telling him that he can take any of her belongings since it's not even her anyways. Clearly, it's a major misunderstanding as this girl probably doesn't know he's the new roommate, but I don't blame her since Hambil do be looking like a major weeb. Nonetheless, as he tries to calm down the girl by explaining that he's the new tenant to the place, bro starts feeling a menacing aura get closer and closer to him. But upon turning around, it was too late. Bro then gets instantly hit by flying sussy jutsu, sending him straight to the ground with perfect precision, only for him to slowly realize that he just got clapped by another girl with invisible clothes on who's busy showing off some large yet pointy ice cream cones. One blink later, it's revealed that the powerful kick came from a red head, still with invisible clothes on, busy wanting to end Hambil's life now as she claims that thieves are never welcome in any kind of neighborhood, especially one full of girls only. Luckily, after Hambil was forced to tap out a couple more times against WWE moves from the Red Head, the owner called in to check if the new tenant came by today, so everything was quickly resolved. Although our boy's first impression was not the best, at least he learned that the first girl's name was Eunso. She's 20 years old and is a university student, but throughout most of the time here, bro has never seen her leave the house, let alone her own room. Meanwhile, the redhead girl Jisoo has been more troublesome of the two as she's quite literally the opposite of Eunso, always straightforward and direct whilst having the demeanor of a real Chad, unlike our boy. Regardless, over the span of the next few weeks, the owner Dayan kept bugging and threatening Hambil to get along really well with the two girls and gave him no reason as to exactly why he just can't be average with them, causing my sussy senses to begin tingling. With me now transforming into the sussy version of Spider-Man, I watched as Jisoo suddenly barged into Hambil's room one day as he was busy using his tissues to clean up, and after acting like he was not up to no good, Jisoo locked eye contact with him and instantly demanded for him to go out with her right at this moment. She then slaps down a bunch of cash in front of our boy, informing him that she's paying for his services as a boyfriend, causing Hambil to pinch himself to make sure he's actually still living in reality. However, bro is kind of dumb and refuses to trust in his banana tree slowly growing down below. Instead, he decides to refuse $1 million as he's probably thinking this is just a prank bro. But after getting called out for being a brokey, our boy actually starts thinking about taking the offer as it's basically a win-win situation, where he might even be lucky enough to do some rice cake smashing for the first time whilst getting paid money to buy unlimited Robux. After contemplating harder than a girl on her time of the month, bro ends up deciding to hand over the fat stacks of money back to Jisoo, which to be fair does not even come close to looking like $1 million, claiming that he doesn't trust her enough to accept the offer if she won't explain why she needs to rent a boyfriend. Upon realizing that loser Hambil would actually chat up for once, she ends up spilling the beans, where we discover that she works at a construction site and she needs a fake boyfriend just to stop her old coworkers from always setting her up with random guys. And when she finally had enough to tell everyone she had a boyfriend, all her coworkers just laughed at her as they know how she is with the boys, since she's usually even more alpha than them and scares them away. Now that our boy knows the true reason she needs a rental boyfriend, he starts feeling bad for her for the first time ever, as he's now the only person she can turn to, knowing full well all her other friends will just laugh at her if they found out, since they ain't real ones. Regardless, after accepting the money, bro learns that Jisoo has already planned out every detail of her fake boyfriend. where he even needs to act cute and sweet every time he meets her. But if he does anything wrong, then he better watch his back. However, as the two continue to discuss their plan to fool a bunch of grandmas and grandpas at work, Bro finally listens to the blood rushing down below and starts talking about how they should kiss to make their plan more believable. Although our boy's plan is actually pretty big brain, Jisoo almost instinctively smacks Hanbyul in the face at the revolting thought of sharing her first Hershey with a weeb, but she realizes he's right, so they compromise by doing it on the cheek instead. Fast forward the next day, their plan finally sprung into action as Hanbyul appeared at the end of Jisoo's shift, trying to look the best he can to pass as a normal person, rather than some of y'all that stay inside all day to grind ranked or blocks fruits. Regardless, after ganking Jisoo acting all sweet and cute like her ideal boyfriend, he does the popping swing to avoid all the glaring coming from the boomers, allowing him to gap close the distance between him and Jisoo to allow their acting to blossom. However, old man Sae-taman and the other coworkers have been watching too much K-dramas this year, so they were quick to notice Jisoo's stiff acting, making them instantly suspicious of the two due to Jisoo's robotic hug and the way she acted around her so-called man. But to alleviate their suspicions of the fake couple, Bro went in for the kiss on the cheek as requested. But for some reason, Jisoo went for it too, so the two worlds collided as if destiny was a thing, catching both of them by surprise. After realizing what happened, both Jisoo and Hanbyul open their eyes in shock of the accident, but since they are too far in, there is no escaping this moment now, so instead, Jisoo doubled down and went try hard mode to sell their affection, since she knows chocolate ice cream is better than vanilla. Nevertheless, after a minute of swapping air like a master mouth breather that can dive over 69 feet, the two disconnect upon hearing all the coworkers clap and cheer for the two, so it's safe to say they won the crowd over, but our boy looks like he just won the lottery. Anyways, the two leave together and head home after a successful outing, but upon leaving line of sight of her workplace, Jisoo quickly returned to her normal self and swiftly tries to beat up Hanbyul, where she angrily asks why the heck he had to tilt his head so awkwardly, placing the blame on our boy for the accident. Surprisingly, as he starts getting berated for the accidental sussy air-to-air attack, Hanbyul defends himself and yells back at Jisoo, telling her to shut up, claiming that it's not even his fault when she's the one that messed up, and he even did his part to make everything worth it for the amount of money she paid him. Unfortunately, after properly defending himself, Bro discovered why Jisoo was so mad they accidentally air-battled, and it's because he found out that was her first ever kiss, and she was planning to save it for the special person at a special time. Now, I get it, those are always special, but can you take a look at our boy? There's literally zero chance this dude has ever gotten his first either, so it's not like she's the only one that's stuck on this boat, so she needs to be more considerate. Nevertheless, unable to figure out what to do in this situation, and since he's never seen a girl cry because of him before, our boy just closes his eyes and tells Jisoo to slap or punch him anywhere she wants if it will help make her feel better. The simp even tells her that after they get home and get everything sorted out, then he will return all the money she gave him to make it fair for both parties. But just as Bro is expecting to get smacked into another dimension, he waits for a second, but no pain appears, causing him to open one eye to see what's going on, only for him to witness Jisoo's eyes disappearing whilst she grabs hold onto him, making my sussy alarm to ring. Soon enough, Hanbyul finds himself teleported to a nearby bar, where Jisoo is nice enough to hand him unlimited free drinks left and right, ordering him to drink enough so he forgets about everything that transpired today. Sure enough, he agrees to the gentleman's agreement, so the two begin chugging drinks one after the other, but the more our boy continues on, the more he realizes that Jisoo isn't half bad herself, so he keeps taking a peek at his roommate while she feels down bad about what happened today. Eventually, Jisoo gets to the point where she begins apologizing for all her actions, saying how she knows she shouldn't have freaked out on him, and at the end of the day, our boy was able to do the job she asked him to do, and now all the boomers will stop bothering her. Regardless, with the awkward air between the two now disappearing thanks to a couple of drinks each, they start bonding after talking about their personal lives, where Jisoo learns that it was his first as well. Turns out the two were foreshadowing something else more sussy, as it's revealed they both teleported back to their place without either having a clue how, and upon waking up the next morning, they both realized they both made another major mistake. Now that both armors on each other are invisible, Jisoo quickly shifts into her usual "I will destroy you" mode, where she forcibly gets on top to try and destroy Hanbyul with her bare hands, as she's busy thinking this was all our boy's fault. Luckily, she stops right before her fist makes direct impact, allowing for Hanbyul to not get reincarnated into another world after hearing that he doesn't remember anything about last night at all, which makes sense to her since she's the one that made him pass out in the first place. As such, the two try to navigate back to last night to figure out what happened to no avail. So Bro comes to the conclusion that if something actually happened, then they would have known by now because things would be sticky and smelly everywhere like my farts. However, reality quickly came crashing down on these two stuck on Delulu land upon finding a small open wrapper on the floor meant to fend off unwanted accidents like our boy Hambiel. And after taking a closer look, the two could not find the product inside, which meant that they most have likely used it already. Of course, Jisoo is now stuck in absolute denial, refusing to believe the scenario she could be in where she wasted not only her first kiss, but also her first rice cake destroying on a weakling like Hambiel. As such, she starts believing the alternate reality where the wrapper was just holding some vitamins, but it clearly says it was a protective wrapper to stop Mini-Me, so she tries to forget about it by remembering that she's still invisible, creating the need to cover up as it was her override to forget her embarrassment. Unfortunately for the two, upon Jisoo picking up the closest blanket to hide from the cold air brushing along the top of her pointy pyramids, she makes a remark about how wet the blanket is, and to make matters worse, Bro begins smelling something eerily familiar to him. It then finally dawned on him that the reason why it seems so familiar to him is because it's the same smell akin to the liquid he makes every night using his cheesy hot dog machine when no one is around, making our boy come to the conclusion that something might have actually happened between them last night. So between the wet blanket, the sussy smell of familiarity, and the fact that they have an open wrapper with a product missing, Jisoo's heart sank because neither of them can even remember what transpired the night before. But as she continues to be quiet to make sense of everything, our boy interrupts her peace and tries to ask her if they are just better off forgetting everything that happened, making Jisoo furiously turn to him to flash him the fiery death glare of a red head. After staring down his soul for a whole minute without blinking, Jisoo makes up her mind and causes the sussy turntables to turn, where she asks him if they should just do it for real to make it count. She then explains that since they probably for sure shared their 1-versus-1 duel last night, then they might as well make it memorable since there's no turning back now. However, Hambiel says no like an absolute alpha skibidi rizzler, making up the excuse that it's probably best to forget since it was a mistake, but Jisoo does not give in, so she tries her best to convince him to go on with rice cake destroying as it's their first time anyways, making them better off once they are experienced Virgos rather than not. Sure enough, Hambiel masterfully fakes out the bomb plant by jumping off the bed to make Jisoo think he would walk away instead of doing some free rice cake destroying, but he turns around last second and tells Jisoo he's actually down for the count. But since these two have no experience in the field of sussy 1-versus-1s before, they waste a couple of minutes just staring at each other, unsure of what to do, until Jisoo begins to blush and orders our boy to do whatever he wants as they have unlimited time together. As such, Bro begins getting cold feet like in Happy Feet, but he forces his way to the front of the double-deckers in front of him, knowing full well that this is the best opportunity he will ever get in a very long time. One blink later, Hambiel closes his eyes and goes for the reach and foul, but knowing that the ref Jisoo wouldn't call it a foul since she's the most corrupt person right now, he lands a direct grappling hook attack on the left side of her pyramids. Guys, do note that this isn't what most people would call a Sigma Alpha Rizzler move, so your experiences may vary, but in the case of our boy, he strikes diamond ore in the form of Jisoo's happiness as she surprisingly is enjoying the entire ordeal, even though it's barely started. Regardless, after seeing the green light from Jisoo, Bro takes a huge gulp to calm down some of his nerves, and upon doing so, he whips out his other hand and goes for the same move whilst Jisoo shyly looks away. Unfortunately for our boy though, he plays with the Legos in front of him for literally an entire 15 minutes, causing Jisoo to get bored, so she tells him to stop asking her questions and doing the same thing, as it would make him a total loser in front of a real Stacy. However, Bro doesn't learn and instead pulls out the same sussy hand jutsu again, causing Jisoo to sigh as she can't believe she got stuck with a loser, and it's all because of fate, but sussy do be sussy, so she puts up with it to grab some experience for her LinkedIn. At this point, Hambiel is super elated that he gets to practice on a real girl instead of one of those numerous anime body pillows he owns, and our boy can't even hide the fact that he's ready to whip out his 10-piece chicken nuggets at any time. Eventually, Hambiel locked in and proceeded to show off some magic he learned online from something they called the Hub, but he instantly gets pushed off when the magic of him tasting the Korean jello proved too exciting to handle like a full level up in game. After getting pushed off like Pusha T, Bro's eyes begin to separate from the middle as he flashes his super dumbfounded look upon hearing Jisoo berate him for being so sussy that she never expected him to pull out such a move. Nonetheless, Jisoo informs our boy to warn her next time if he was going to pull out something unexpected out of his secret bag, but Bro makes a good point that she literally told him he can do whatever he wants with his domain expansion skills. As such, Jisoo apologizes for being so tense like camping, so she acknowledges her wrongdoings and proceeds to shyly look toward the side of the room again, whilst reiterating the fact that our boy is free to do anything he wants right now. Shortly after reminding Hanbyul that he's good to go to become the supreme sussy baka he's always wanted to be, Bro blushes profusely as his mind goes wild whilst watching Jisoo flop on the bed like a starfish, showing off the bakery she founded herself. And so the sussy floodgates were finally open, causing Hanbyul to move like a ninja, where he instantly appears beside Jisoo, and before Jisoo could even react, Bro started banging out unlimited lactose-free milk drinking. Eventually, Bro drinks a gallon worth of first-time milk, and after getting his fair share that fills up his entire tummy, Bro goes on the hunt for more elsewhere. This time, Hanbyul looks like he's aiming for the Forbidden Palace on Jisoo's main island. Upon unraveling the treasure pile in front of him, Bro begins looking like he's getting lured to the wilderness with no way back out, but then his mythical dragon fruit started awakening below him, so it's time for war. Even Jisoo noticed how our boy's dragon fruit got stronger and bigger in real time, but since she thought Hanbyul was a dough fruit spammer, she was happy to see him be a dragon main, so she tells Hanbyul she's ready for the promised 1v1 duel. With their epic duel now underway, Jisoo finds herself teleported to the destroyed dimension upon Hanbyul activating his sussy domain expansion just once, blowing her mind away as she did not expect our boy to be him. Unfortunately for her though, with her eyes totally disappearing, she asks Hanbyul if the dragon has exited its cage all the way, only for her to find out his sword was not even halfway past her defensive gate, causing her to almost pass out. As such, the two take a break just so Jisoo can handle our boy's 1v1 attacks whilst his dragon goes all the way through to her jungle. So she begins talking about how funny she finds her situation is, as she never expected to let a nerd go ham in her pan. But with our boy now stuck unable to move a single inch, he's forced to listen to Jisoo as she continues on talking about how she always thought a rice cake duel would not be fun, just from what she's heard from all her friends. However, upon hearing Jisoo mumble about how rice cake destroying isn't fun at all, Hanbyul's smile gets wiped off his face instantly, so he makes an excuse saying that the only reason it's not fun is because she's the one that ordered him to unleash his dragon attacks without preparing for his invasion in the first place. Luckily for our boy though, Jisoo tells him to calm down as she did not mean it that way, and what she meant is that she's not talking about him, but she's talking about it generally, since this was the only thing she knew about duels. Nevertheless, after hearing Jisoo randomly dump some emotional baggage whilst his dragon was still stuck inside her palace gates, Bro quickly thinks of a plan to make everything better, since she keeps yapping about how she wanted this duel to be romantic and with a boyfriend. Mere seconds later, while Jisoo was still yapping about her standards, Hanbyul decided to cosplay Prince Charming, and upon channeling the powers of cultured anime he always watches every night alone, he goes to seal the deal with a smooth yet romantic air-to-air swap. Our boy then follows up his Chad moves by trying to soothe her nerves, claiming that the next time she has a 1v1 duel will be with someone that's her boyfriend, so she needs to stop overthinking, as now is the time for the sussy Fire Nation to take over. Hanbyul then flashes a smile that causes Jisoo to see him in a better light, but before she could even react to what he said, Bro activated Gear 5 with his dragon and proceeded to go faster and harder than me at the club at 2 a.m. in the morning. What's even funnier is that our boy tells Jisoo that he's her boyfriend now, but Jisoo yells at him and orders him to stop being weird, since she would never date him in the first place, so Bro tells her she can just imagine him to be one while they do some rice cake destroying. Nevertheless, even after Jisoo informs him that there's no way she can imagine a weakling to be her boyfriend, she just lets everything play out anyways, but Hanbyul continues to get weird with it, as he starts calling her honey in the middle of his offensive attacks, but he's just lucky his supreme beast is larger than average. Eventually though, his sussy words effectively penetrate the defensive shield of Jisoo, causing her to actually blush when he bombards her with a bunch of compliments like calling her pretty, where he couples it by saying he's absolutely serious and means every word he says. As such, Jisoo's face turns more red than her own crimson eyes she was born with, allowing for her water fountain of youth to leak like it has never leaked before. Nonetheless, a few minutes later of more yapping than rice cake destroying, Bro surpasses level 69 of his special domain expansion, rendering the target to feel numb. So Bro took the opportunity to tell Jisoo that it would be nice if he can actually become her boyfriend for real. Surprisingly this time, she doesn't outright reject him off the bat, but rather, Jisoo tells him to stop being a sussy baka and to just focus on finishing up their duel, so it looks like our boy might actually get across the finish line. After hearing Jisoo not reject him instantly, something triggered within our boy, so his banana tree plantation grew to its maximum potential, where he used it to try and destroy the bed using newfound earth-shattering bending abilities. 30 seconds after Hanbyul transformed into an earthbender, the ground began uncontrollably shaking alongside Jisoo herself, causing her to hold on for her dear life as Bro was cosplaying a jackhammer with a power level of over 9,000. Eventually, Hanbyul's first-time abilities proved too strong for Jisoo, so she ends up admitting utter defeat after a mind-blowing final attack, causing both of them to explode like a Minecraft creeper, ruining my hardcore run. Regardless, after finishing their legendary 1v1 duel, Bro tries to pull out his epic Excalibur from Jisoo's crystal, but upon exiting all the way, Hanbyul's face lights up when he hears Jisoo literally asking him if he would actually like to be her boyfriend again. Now that our boy is stuck trying his best to stop himself from jumping up and down in joy, he makes sure to confirm with Jisoo she isn't pranking him, but she ends up shyly looking away and repeats herself. However, our boy almost ruined the heartfelt moment by laughing out loud and teasing her for liking the way he acted like a real boyfriend, causing Jisoo to flip him off whilst she quickly ran to the nearest bathroom to try and make sure she isn't hallucinating after what came out of her mouth. But inside the bathroom, while busy trying to smack herself awake as she can't believe what she just said, she notices something peculiar in the corner of her eye, and upon further investigation, she noticed a bunch of wrappers filled with water on the sink. At this point, all her memories began flooding back in, so she started remembering all of the details of the night before, including the fact that they both went back home together for a single reason. And that single reason was because they had nothing else to do for fun, and after drinking all night and being bored, they decided to go home with a bunch of protective wrappers so they can try and fill it up with unknown liquid. The two then started to fill up every wrapper they could find with a bunch of water, and even though they thought the water smelled a little bit off, they didn't mind and continued on as they wanted to see what the limit would be before they exploded in their faces. Soon after, they created a bunch of homemade water balloons to limit test their powers. But one by one, the balloons started breaking and exploding on them, causing both to get absolutely drenched with water, so they ended up removing their clothes to make sure they dry overnight. So now here we are back in the present, where they both come to the realization that they made another huge mistake for overthinking what happened last night. But we all know Bro is secretly yelling inside his head about how he can't believe how lucky he is. As such, Hanbyul tries his best to comfort Jisoo, but it looks like she got hit by Truck Kun. So the only thing he could do is tell her to not worry because it's all in the past now, and they can't really time travel back in time. After a couple of minutes debating whether or not life is worth it after losing Virgo status to a cultured weed, Jisoo comes back alive and instantly stands up before shouting at Hanbyul they should go eat because she's feeling super hungry. But unable to take the hint, she wants to forget about everything right now. Bro still brings up the fact that he's surprised she isn't whining about their 1v1 duel, only for Jisoo to tell him it's okay, since she was the one that brought up the idea in the first place. Nonetheless, the two continue on looking for the nearest McDonald's, but halfway through their journey to find food, Jisoo tells Hanbyul she feels like her first duel wasn't even that bad, so he doesn't need to bring it up again. Suddenly, after walking a few more steps forward, Jisoo happily turns around upon hearing Hanbyul call her cute again. So she tells him that food is on her today and urges Hanbyul to pick something else other than McDonald's if he wants to eat good. Fast forward to later on in the night, the two find themselves back at home, but Yeonso is nowhere to be found again, so our boy takes the opportunity to gank Jisoo with a present. It's then revealed that his special gift to Jisoo is her $1 million back, and even though he's broke as heck and a brand new bundle just dropped, he's stuck with his words like a real man, but Jisoo refuses to accept her money back. As such, Hanbyul keeps trying to hand her back the money to no avail, telling her that he seriously meant it when he said he would give it up, but all Jisoo does is flash her white chocolate mountains and berates our boy for even thinking of her accepting back something she gave out, since that's pretty rude. Instead, Jisoo informs him that she would rather have a discount for the next time she needed a fake boyfriend, and upon hearing her say that, our boy finally picked up on a hint for the first time ever. Bro then asked what she meant by next time, making Jisoo admit that even though they were just pretending, the entire experience was like perfectly done medium rare steak, causing her to offer to do more pretending until she eventually got her own real boyfriend. She continues on by staring deep into Hanbyul's soul, informing him that since she's never had a boyfriend before, there are a lot of things she never tried during rice cake battles, so it'd be nice if they could experience them together. Unfortunately for Jisoo though, she doesn't exactly get the right reaction she was expecting from Hanbyul, so she flips him off again when all Bro does is laugh and giggle like a high school girl busy gossiping about a guy they like. Nevertheless, our boy transforms into Chatamus Prime again and saves the day by straight up orders her to quit getting angry with him, and instead tells her that her time is better off spent showing him all the things she wants to do with a real boyfriend. After getting Alpha Skibidi rizzlered by an anime weeb, Jisoo blushes profusely and is unable to maintain eye contact with Hanbyul. Yet she spills everything she wants to do with him, including shopping together and even going on dates, as she's never been on one before. Now, me personally, I could never turn down free money, especially if I am getting paid by a 10 out of 10 equipped with a double Whopper with bacon and cheese. So like a smart man, bro chooses the same path as me and quickly plans out their fake couple ideas as soon as possible. However, as the art gets worse, so does our boy's brainwaves, so he ends up telling Jisoo that this time he'll be free for his services, even though Jisoo was absolutely ready to drop the bag on him and give him the maximum 5-year contract extension. Luckily for him though, Jisoo refuses to accept a free service, so after some more back and forth Asian bickering on whether or not it should be free, they come to a mutual decision whereby Jisoo will receive a hefty 20% discount. Nonetheless, as the two disperse back to their rooms as midnight is fast approaching, landlord Daeun appears out of nowhere and accidentally eavesdrops, but the only thing she heard was that the two were planning to go on a date tomorrow, making her wonder what the heck happened between them. Fast forward to the next afternoon, we find our boy super happy that he's going on a date, and even though he knows it's fake, it doesn't really count, it doesn't change the fact that it's his first time ever. Unfortunately, bro pulled a me and showed up late at their meeting spot, and upon finally making it there, the only thing he finds is Jisoo looking totally furious with him for being 5 minutes late due to his phone bugging out on him. However, it turns out that bro wasn't even late, and it only seemed like it was because the time on his phone was actually broken, but when he fixed it, he showed it to Jisoo, which instantly calmed her down just so she didn't give off needy crazy girlfriend vibes. Nevertheless, with their date now underway, Hanbyul pulls out some more tricks out of his sleeve, so he instantly went in for the signature hand-holding skill that he learned and leveled up to max without warning Jisoo of what he was planning in his head. But as soon as Jisoo realized they were holding hands, she started catching some feel, so she quickly ripped away her hand faster than Usain Bolt could cross the finish line in the 100-meter dash, where she also started smacking our boy as she can't believe bro would even try such a romantic move on her. Mere seconds later, Jisoo successfully claps Hanbyul down with one direct kick, leaving bro totally winded. But then he reminded her they were on a date, and that holding hands is something every couple does no matter the scenario. As such, the red-head princess broke eye contact again and looked away whilst apologizing to him, claiming that she totally forgot they were on a date, so she reached her hand out in hopes that Hanbyul wouldn't mind the Mike Tyson type of beatdown she just gave him. Regardless, Hanbyul doesn't mind he kept getting beat up in this fake relationship, so he swiftly takes her hand to get back up, where he then takes the opportunity to tell her to chill by reminding her that they have done things worse than hand-holding before. Fast forward to later on the date, the two finally get to their first destination where Jisoo began trying out clothes for her to buy, whilst our boy was stuck waiting outside each time, being forced to be the dude that tells their girlfriend whether they look fat or not in their brand new outfit. Of course, bro can't say anything other than how every outfit looks good on her and how she looks pretty or beautiful in every single one, but slowly and surely the outfits became more of a tight fit, causing Hanbyul's dragon to wake from its slumber again. Unfortunately for our boy though, his dragon fruit fell back asleep as he was stuck at the shopping mall for hours, trying his best to stay awake, but the only thing he could feel is dread, knowing full well that there is no end to a girl shopping for clothes until the mall closes. Eventually, Jisoo came back out one last time with a sleek white dress and a black jacket, where she then revealed to Hanbyul that she's finally made up her mind on which one she's going to buy, and spoiler alert, she's buying everything since she's rich like my boy Bill Gates. After buying everything from the store, our boy finally noticed that her outfit isn't really like her, as he's used to seeing her always in workout clothes or work clothes, but never something nice like this, so he accidentally pops a dragon longsword in the middle of the mall. Now that the two are finished with their fake yet ideal first date for Jisoo, they both arrive back home together without doing anything else, but Jisoo's face disappears when she tells Hanbyul there's still something else she wants to show him. She then quickly closes the door behind them to make sure Yoonseo or Daeun won't accidentally catch them doing something sussy if they pass by, and upon making sure the coast is clear, she drops the bomb that there's other things she bought, including special diamond underpants she wants to show him. But since the terms of the dates were crystal clear and time is officially up, Jisoo crosses her fingers and shyly asks Hanbyul if he would be down to watch her right now, even though bro won't get paid over time. However, this time it looks like Jisoo is taking the initiative to become a sussy master, as she begins to get rid of her brand new super expensive brand clothes before our boy could even answer. But deep down, she already knew bro would say yes, as she noticed his banana tree plantation poking through its cage. Nonetheless, before bro even knew what was happening in front of him, Jisoo's clothes turned invisible except for the two-piece underlying package which were protecting both her golden cove and her twin pyramids of Giza. After showing off her first few pairs she bought, she swaps into the other ones she purchased right in front of our boy, causing him to instinctively look away as it looks like he can't control his dragon rage from filling up his sussy bar fully. Now that everything is in full display like some kind of historic museum, we have to zoom into Hambiel's Adam's apple to showcase the Sussy Nation successfully invading the room. And there's no way out, so we have to give our thoughts and prayers for the Sussy man. Regardless, one blink is all it took to make our boy spring up from his chair with his dragon bestie ripping a hole down below, causing him to grab Jisoo to personally call her out for setting the room's level to level 69. After hearing that our boy finally got the hint again, she flashes a smile while her face disappeared, so you already know things are about to get good, just like unlimited Korean fried chicken. And as I expected, Jisoo was quick to remove her fully enhanced diamond pants whilst busy calling our boy a loser again, informing him that she hates it when people bombard her with questions that have obvious answers, so there's a lot for him to learn. Suddenly, the Sussy Fire Nation finally invaded, allowing Hambiel to get the hint that this red head wants more than a show, so bro came in like a Miley Cyrus wrecking ball after activating his cupping dark shadow arts directly on Jisoo's double-deckers. This simple yet effective skill was enough to make Jisoo grab our boy's big back, looking like she just fell in love with the main character of a K-drama. But little does she know bro is copying the exact same moves he learned on YouTube after searching how to pick up girls. Regardless, bro pulls back like a master at the push and pull method after a minute of intense air-to-air mouth combat, leaving our boy totally flustered as he didn't think faking it till you make it would actually work. So now that he's fully decked out in maximum confidence, Hambiel begins to go after his favorite pastime right before total rice cake destroying, which is him going after the double prime watermelons in front of him, since bro loves to play with them 24/7. Somehow, him just playing around turned out to be super effective, as it instantly sends Jisoo to the sussy dimension, causing her to feel like she's in the clouds without even having to hit a blinker, so bro warns her to not make any loud sounds. However, Hambiel is a menace to society, so he levels up his sussy attacks by diverting his current target from Jisoo's giant fruits straight to the blooming vegetable garden down below, so he starts to play the piano down there as if he's a young Asian prodigy of the arts. At this point, Jisoo looks even more lost as she can't believe what the heck is happening to her, so she ends up trying to get our boy to slow down his horses, as she does not want to accidentally ruin the brand new equipment she bought today, since when it rains, it pours. Nevertheless, Hambiel remembered that the #1 way to KO a lady without having to bring out his giant legendary sword of destruction is to actually use a special water-breathing technique, using a tongue-in-cheek literal method, so he goes for it for the first time whilst Jisoo permitted the action to occur. And as soon as the muscular organ located on Hambiel's mouth finally made landing on its special target down under, Jisoo began making faces that would make people mistake her for someone on the spectrum due to how crazy the first-time new beginner experience was. Nonetheless, bro continues on like a champ whilst Jisoo kept going insane to the point that all the lights began flickering throughout the house, almost as if she just summoned a haunted ghost with the type of screams that was going on. Eventually though, Hambiel had to retreat with his muscles tiring out since he went all out like a true man, so upon taking a moment to withdraw from the front lines, Jisoo swiftly fell over like a statue as she could no longer stand straight. After seeing his opponent flop to the ground like prime Neymar, our boy makes a smug but very punchable face as he didn't realize his skills were that good to make someone literally fall over like a fish out of water. However, 2 seconds later, Jisoo instantly wipes the smug off his face when our boy finds himself outright ganked with a blink of his eye, causing the sussy turntables to turn again as he's now the one on the ground rather than Jisoo still stuck glued there. Bro thought she was going to do something else but ends up realizing that Jisoo looks absolutely furious with him, especially since she's putting so much force on his scrawny shoulders that ends up making him almost cry for being full bone. Anyways, Hambiel is totally confused as to why Jisoo is acting like this, even though he tried his best to make it an equal playing field in terms of satisfaction. So he ends up asking what's wrong, since he does not think he overstepped any boundaries. Turns out Jisoo is furious with him because she did not like what was happening to her, as it felt like she was not herself, with the intense emotional feelings activating from every corner she could have imagined. So basically bro did his job too well, so now she's all up in her feels. Nonetheless, the two mutually came to a conclusion that this rice cake duel offer will only be fair if she does the same attack against him, or else his previous attack would prove to be too one-sided, so now our boy is forced to stand up straight with his domestic missile out in the open for an invasion. But as he's waving his flag down there left and right, the AC in the room starts making his dragon longsword cold due to Jisoo not being able to make physical contact against him, as she's too busy wondering what to do, as she did not really think this through. 5 minutes later, the Dragon Balls of our legendary Goku began shrinking with Jisoo still not making her first attack, so it looks like Shenron is not going to get summoned anytime soon. After another few minutes, Bro almost fell asleep due to all the yapping Jisoo has been going on about, since it seems like she does not want to go through with her side of the attack bargain, claiming that face-to-face with a real sword is more daunting than it seems. Eventually though, Bro becomes wide awake after his opponent starts berating him for shrinking his dragon-long sword to a short sword style of gameplay, so he tries to defend himself by claiming that she's taking too long and now the cold air has made science class true. Now that Jisoo got humbled by a scrawny boy, she decides she needs to go all in to not lose her reputation, but again, she takes too long, causing our boy to tell her that if she does not want to do it, then they can go back to using his special shadow arts jutsu on her, since he does not care at all. Regardless, Jisoo finally makes her move after 15 whole minutes, but this time she has to start from the beginning as the current sword needs to be reshaped back to its primal form. But with time ticking and our boy getting bored again due to how slow Jisoo is moving during their 1 versus 1 duel, he orders her to freely attack as fast or hard as she can, or else he's gonna go back to playing Roblox. After hearing that Hanbyul is on the verge of leaving, Jisoo smartens up and begins more invasive maneuvers to make sure her so-called boyfriend is not going anywhere. And after putting in way more effort like some kind of Olympian, our boy surprisingly began to buckle. Mere seconds after buckling from the pressure of Jisoo's attacks, she continued to up the ante against our boy, but things take a quick turn when she places the missile inside her portable fridge mouth connector. The duel quickly went from a boring but somewhat enjoyable one to one full of pain, since it's Jisoo's first time handling an Excalibur in her life, so if you ever had a first-timer as your duel partner before, then you know exactly what he means, as teeth began to get in the way, but Bro is too nice to say anything about it. So to not make their relationship any worse, Bro tried his best to explode his volcano using his sheer imagination while he raced against Jisoo to make sure she does not whittle down his remaining happiness he was hiding behind his smile. Luckily for our boy though, he was able to complete his solo secret mission of volcano explosion jutsu, allowing him to cover his opponent with mysterious white lava all over, and now he's finally free from the grinding teeth type of attacks. Suddenly, after emptying his entire tadpole army, Hanbyul was ganked with a question of how he would rate Jisoo's attacks, so Bro had to put on his acting skills and ended up informing her that it was great because he would rate it 11 out of 10 with rice. With our boy's crazy acting display worthy of an Oscar successfully working, Bro decides to add the cherry on top by grabbing some tissues to help clean up the mess around her room. But the sussy tables turn again when Hanbyul witnesses Jisoo drinking his leftover milk without him ever asking her to. Nonetheless, Jisoo swiftly devours the entirety of the lactose-free milk our boy left everywhere without a single complaint, causing Hanbyul to look like he just got smitten by a love bug, as he never expected that kind of outcome. As such, our boy's pet dragon raged on like in Game of Thrones even after one single volcano explosion, so he readies for a round 3 of their sussy 1 versus 1 duel by ganking Jisoo from the flank. One blink later, Bro channels all of his strength he's been saving up all his life just so he could throw Jisoo on a bed across the room face first, allowing him to see the freshest of all donut bakeries as he's ready for his ultimate domain expansion jutsu to finally activate and make its way in. Hanbyul then teleports across the room right behind his opponent like some kind of evil villain, where he then giggles to himself as he didn't expect his dragon fruit to roar like never before. As such, the two then begin their real actual sussy 1 versus 1, and upon first contact with Hanbyul's beef burrito, Jisoo gets shocked as it feels as if our boy's attacks are stronger and bigger than usual, which does not make sense as she thought his mystical sword already reached max enhancement levels. However, our boy explains to her that she's right. It does seem like his Taco Bell run earlier made his beef burrito transform into the supreme beef one. All thanks to him getting to watch her earlier chumming all his lactose-free milk like a champ. Regardless, our boy continues trucking along with his Wendy's spicy nuggets across the field of Jisoo, going faster and stronger by the second, causing him to not be able to understand Jisoo as her words began to not sound like it's English thanks to the crazy battering ram attacks she has to defend against.